How's it going, guys? Welcome to a brand new Stargirl review and breakdown. Now this is for episode 2 titled S.T.R.I.P.E, and it's just great to see how everyone is enjoying Stargirl in general. I just want to start this video off saying that, and all of you guys, at least I would say over 80% of you were saying either you loved it or you weren't sure about the promo trailers, and I understand that because of the more family friendly aspect of Stargirl, I suppose. Maybe you had apprehension, maybe you have similar tastes to me where you feel like you're into a bit more of the gritty stuff, but Stargirl took you by surprise, and that is because of the quality of this show coming from DC Universe, now airing on the CW. It's really, really great, and I'm just happy with the success of the show so far. And episode 2, I feel like it really does just expand upon the great adventure that was established in episode 1. But overall, Stargirl episode 2 just really strives further into Stargirl taking the mantle. Episode 1 was essentially the discovery and origin, but episode 2 really solidifies Stargirl into her destiny with the forging of her suit. And by the end of the episode, with that moment we've all seen from the trailers with her saying, "I'm Stargirl," and then proceeding to have a battle with Brainwave. And bottom line here, for like a premise of my review, I suppose, episode 2 just continues to prove that this show is something special. I'd really appreciate it if you left a like on this video. It really does help boost YouTube videos getting shared in the algorithm and stuff like that. So by the time I've said this, you could have already done that. So the beginning of this episode picks up directly after last week's episode, with Pat having arrived in what he describes as his hunk of junk S.T.R.I.P.E mech, which, you know, once again, like last week, the CGI is fantastic. And also another thing in this moment, you guys know if you watch my review from episode 1 how much I love the themes in this this show and the music. So the adventurous music that was playing in the background of this scene was just really awesome. And when they came down from flying, we also had that moment between Stargirl and the Cosmic Staff where the staff was nagging her, and this is like a whole other interesting thing as well, just because I noticed that a lot of fans aren't exactly sure how the Cosmic Staff works in this iteration, because it's definitely seeming to have this personality, and I'm not even really sure if it's sentient, but the thing is, it can communicate with Stargirl, and she actually understands it, because in this scene, she says, "I'm upset too." Or when Pat asks, you know, what is Brainwave doing in Blue Valley, the staff just strikes the ground to kind of reaffirm her point of what she says to Pat in that moment. So, I don't know, I think it is alive in a way, if you know what I mean, that they're kind of adding that twist into this show. I just absolutely love the inclusion of this aspect of the staff. It makes it just a character within itself, and it just adds a lot to the show. To be honest, at this point, I can't actually imagine the Cosmic Staff any other way. I mean, can you just imagine this staff being an inanimate object now? I feel like if you think of it that way, it really does show you the flavor that it adds to Stargirl. Yet again, Stargirl is persistent with Starman being her father, something that has been trickled throughout the show, and quite a lot more in this episode than in episode 1, as a kind of is he or isn't he kind of thing. And I would just love to know where you think they're actually going to go with that. At this moment, Pat then name drops a few of the JSA heroes, because Brainwave was solely responsible in that battle for killing Johnny Thunder, Hawkman, and Hawkgirl. And that's another thing about this show in general. It's just great that we've somewhat got these top tier villains in this show, something I didn't really speak enough about in the first episode, but this isn't some typical villain of the week kind of thing. We've got a literal Injustice Society villain roster here, and the way they're unfolding in this story is just a treat, especially with the ending of this episode. Now at this point, this is when we get introduced, or reintroduced you could say, because we saw him at the 10-year flashback, to the Wizard and his family. Now I just love that moment when he thought an intruder was coming into his house. He goes to the safe where he's been stashing the wand, and it just seems that the Wizard, compared to the other Injustice villains and how kind of, yeah, like they're not very family oriented, or if they have a family, they're fairly cold. It seems that the Wizard has a bit more to lose and has partially put some of that life behind him, and this is actually even emphasized further when he learns that it's actually Brainwave who is in his house. It was come to inform him about Stargirl, but also points out that he knows how he thinks, that he's actually ready to take his family and run. Which reminds me, last episode we saw that Icicle, or Jordan Icicle, was in London, and he left the Wizard in charge, not actually Brainwave, who you would kind of assume maybe it would be with the way he just carries himself in this show. But in this moment, he informed him that he's already been to Icicle and just undermined the Wizard. One thing I really liked in this moment is that these two villains really have a lot of tension in this scene. It's almost like the Wild Wild West with both their hands on the gun. You don't quite know who'd win, but it is still kind of exciting nonetheless, and that's often how things are between villainous organizations. It's not like everyone gets along as the characters in the Justice League or the JSA. And it's also in this moment we get a bit of a clue as to what the Injustice Society plot is this season, and where Brainwave teased that Jordan, aka Icicle, has a grand plan, which is Project New America, which is their purpose and also their legacy. So like, this really means a lot to them. They really want this to succeed. But let's head back to Pat and Stargirl, and I told you guys in the last episode that things would pick up even more between Pat and Courtney in this episode, and it most certainly does, and you get a taste of that partnership in this moment moving forward. Here, Pat actually revealed that Our Man survived the Injustice Society's attack on the JSA headquarters, and he took it upon himself to follow them across the county from LA to Colorado, I believe it was, and then to Blue Valley, Nebraska. Unfortunately though, Our Man and his wife died in an accident shortly after they arrived in Blue Valley. Now, an accident, will we get emphasis on that in a much further episode? It just seems kind of like very unlucky if they actually genuinely passed away in an accident. But either way, Pat got a hold of all of his research, and that's what tracked him down to Blue Valley and how he also met Courtney's mother. And this part in the episode I really loved. I mean, this episode is called S.T.R.I.P.E, right? So I guess it's mainly meant to kind of center around him and the essence of Pat. And this moment was brilliant. Obviously, Pat went downstairs again to look at the GSA classified files on Brainwave. He thought there was an intruder, but really it was just his dog, and then cut to a montage of him trying to improve S.T.R.I.P.E. We also had Johnny Cash playing in the background, and if you don't know, a fun fact about me, I love Johnny Cash. I'm a huge fan of old music like that, 50s stuff, Elvis Presley. Don't judge me, I love it. So in this moment, it was just, I don't know, I really like it, and I really like Luke Wilson in this role. He's just automatically lovable, and this was just really fun to watch. And this moment was specifically about improving S.T.R.I.P.E.'s flying punch attack, which, you know, was, as we all know, used at the end of the episode, but it just provided for an all-round comedic moment with him failing again and again, and the show just pulls it off so well. The CGI was great, as usual. I just keep complimenting that. It was actually daytime scenes as well, which is quite, you know, sometimes hard to pull off half decent CGI, but they seem to do it. We also had Mike playing Nintendo Switch at breakfast. Shout out to all the Switch owners out there, my fellow Switch owners. I love the Nintendo Switch. I also like this moment because I also mentioned something about this in my review for episode 1 last week, in that Pat and Courtney will also have funny moments hiding their superhero lives from their family, and at breakfast they both had injuries on their face and they had to kind of make an awkward excuse, such as both falling down the basement stairs. But also last week I spoke about Jake Austin Walker's character, who, as some of you may remember, was actually speculated to be in the Titans show as Wally West. But in this show, he is of course playing Brainwave's son. Now we first see him in this episode taking money from his dad, which of course his dad can find out about due to his powers of literally one of them being able to read minds. But the reason why I love this moment in this episode between his character Henry, if you all watched my review of last week, we spoke about the possibility of Henry becoming Brainwave Jr. at some point in the show's future. This wasn't revealed or anything, but the thing is, it most certainly hinted at it in this episode through Brainwave asking him what he is thinking, like wanting him to try and guess what his dad's thinking. So that moment, the disappointment in his father's face was just, you know, very telling when he just gave him the completely wrong guess about like taking the bus or something. And it's just, as I said, very telling that Brainwave is really hoping for his son's powers to activate, I guess, to carry on the Brainwave legacy. So I'm sure at some point we will go down a lot more of this road with Jake Austin Walker's character, and this bleeds into the whole high school aspect of things in the show as well, because sure, Stargirl is up against the Injustice Society villains, but we can't forget that she's got to worry about other characters her age, such as Cindy, who I mentioned in my other review, who is the daughter of another supervillain we'll be meeting at some point this season, but now also the tease of Henry's future as Brainwave Jr., especially with what happens at the end of this episode. Earlier on in the episode, the seed was planted in Stargirl's mind about the suit, because, you know, she's still an amateur and she doesn't have a costume, and the whole protect your identity and protect your family thing. So she takes Starman's suit and we get a montage of her actually creating her own version of it. I also love how she completely left the room wrecking every sewing machine, the scissors and stuff, because I guess that was a little sign that this suit is made out of like special properties or like some kind of reinforced whatever. So yeah, just cool little stuff there. Now here we actually get to explore another character who we only saw very briefly explored in in the first episode, and that is Courtney Whitmore's mother. In episode 1, we only saw her being shown around her new job at the American Dream, which isn't all too hard to realize is heavily involved in the Injustice Society's Project New America. While all of this on the surface seems like there's good intentions and stuff like that, we still have yet to learn the core evil and, as Brainwave puts it, grand plan. We see in that meeting everyone is a bit too afraid to suggest ideas to the CFO, Stephen Sharp, who is actually in the comics, I believe, Gambler, who is one of the original members of the Injustice Society. But speaking of villains, we actually also get a look at a villain we saw kind of briefly teased last week, and that is Sportsmaster, who is actually running that Rip City gym. Now, funnily enough, he gets Pat on a workout straight away. However, we still actually haven't seen any Sportsmaster suited up in any of these episodes or this episode. But as you should all know from the trailers at least, and I've shown it in a lot of my videos, there is an awesome fight between Sportsmaster and Stargirl coming up, and I really can't wait for that one. But what about the new members of the Justice Society of America? So far we have Stargirl, and even though they haven't quite got there, we obviously have Beth Chapel and the others. But in this episode, we did get another peek with some high school scenes, such as Beth Chapel, whose mother works with Brainwave, and this whole moment was pretty funny, and a very close call because she shows Courtney on video with Brainwave in the same room. And as we all know, he's very much so trying to find her after her run-in with him last episode. Now this leads Brainwave to take advantage of the Blue Valley High School open house, where obviously he will probably find Stargirl, since he does have a student ID and he knows that she is there. Yet again, there were convenient things getting in the way of Courtney and Brainwave actually spotting each other at first, but also it's just funny that the Wizard, Sportsmaster, Brainwave, and others are just all in this high school open house, because the thing is, if he sold me that on paper, like all of these Injustice villains centered around a high school, it would just sound cheesy. But the thing is, there's just something about this show and the way it conducts its story that it just makes something like that work. But this is when, once again, Brainwave finds Stargirl, not even disguised. It's revealed that Brainwave wants Courtney to bring him the cosmic staff. This puts Courtney in a very interesting position just because he threatens her mother. And when your family is in danger as a hero, there's not really so much you can do about it unless you're quite a seasoned hero, and Courtney Whitmore obviously is quite the amateur and very new to this whole Stargirl stuff, so it is very risky because this is a high-ranking member of the Injustice Society of America, and here we have Courtney, who's just an inexperienced 15-year-old hero. But that's, you know, one of the exciting things about this whole show is her adventure in stopping him and the Injustice Society in general. I think this whole development in the story makes the end of the episode absolutely fantastic, because things have gotten very serious, the stakes are very high, it's just a strong and believable plot, and also as a result of this strengthens the relationship between Pat and her. I absolutely love that scene between Pat and Courtney towards the end of the episode, because this is where he tells her that he's going after Brainwave and needs her to stay behind, and if he doesn't come back by morning, to run away. And I think in this moment, Courtney just really realized how much Pat cares about her mum and the family, and it kind of makes that moment when he leaves so significant to her and their relationship moving forward. And okay, I'm sorry, but I have to mention it again, the music in that scene, some of you may forget about this stuff, but the music in that scene when Pat is leaving and goes to S.T.R.I.P.E to get in it and go after Brainwave was just mwah. And heading towards the very end of the episode now, we get to see that scene between Stargirl and Brainwave that we've all seen a billion times in all of the trailers. S.T.R.I.P.E arrives for more or less one of the first times as Pat actually owning his own role as a hero within his own right, from a man who was just a suit cleaner in the JSA to this figure in where even Brainwave is asking who he is. But this was kind of a funny moment because Pat didn't really know what to say, and he just said some funny line about justice. So yeah, I mean, obviously very cheesy, but deliberately so. And we got to see a fight between S.T.R.I.P.E and Brainwave unfold, and unfortunately he doesn't really stand a chance against him. And I just love how powerful Brainwave was portrayed to be in this moment. I mean, it's really a question of what more can you do against someone like this. But that's when Courtney with the cosmic staff flies off into the sky. That moment was epic, where she just like runs along, jumps on the staff and just flies off. It's just perfect comic book accuracy there. Hero truly formed, arrives announcing herself as Stargirl and completely decimates him. And this was actually a chills moment. When I watched this for the first time, like a month or two ago, I don't think I experienced that, but just watching it again, I just really took in like the hero's journey moment, and it was just like that fully formed moment, and I don't know, it was just awesome. I felt like this fight did a good job of showing how good Stargirl can be versus her first encounter with Brainwave. I mean, initially she was the one who was controlling a lot of the battle, but then they did a good job at not being completely unbelievable and showing Brainwave gaining the upper hand and pinning her to the floor with his mind. And I think that is important because it's not always fun when the main hero is just automatically overpowered and is turned into a bit of a Mary Sue. So like I'm glad they took their time to do that, because people always complain about that, and I do always see their side of that. It's just sometimes always too convenient. But yeah, the show is counterbalancing little aspects like that very, very well. The staff obviously lends quite the hand to her in assistance, but then it comes down to this moment which results in Brainwave's mind getting overloaded with the cosmic staff's energy, and he's put into a coma, and it even creates a little gravitational field, which was pretty cool, and a nod to the actual properties of the cosmic staff. But Henry, Brainwave's son, is devastated by this, and I actually really like this moment because it expands upon what I was talking about earlier of the whole Brainwave Jr. stuff, because I really do feel like this will lend to the future plot of when he's clued in perhaps on all of the Injustice Society's dealings, comes into his own power, perhaps that's unlocked, and will have his own reason for going up against Stargirl now. So like Injustice Society villain level stuff, but also like the juniors, like high school version, you know, level of stuff as well. And I thought that scene between Pat and Courtney at the end of the episode was really awesome because it gave the audience some emphasis on the cosmic staff itself and what it's about, but also not at the same time because it was a bit of a teaser. In this moment, Courtney asks if the staff is alive, and he says he doesn't know how the staff works, but he knows that Ted Knight built it, and that's a story for another day. But some of you may or may not know that Ted Knight is actually the original Starman from 1941 when he was introduced. So that's a cool little nod to that, and I have a theory or two with how this pans into the story, because I'm guessing in the show the way Sylvester got the staff, who Courtney obviously thinks is her father, it happened in a similar fashion in what he asks Pat to do, and that is to find somebody who can carry the torch, and perhaps he received it from Ted Knight because he was worthy in a similar way. Now, Ted Knight is a very intelligent person and scientist because, as we all know, he literally made the staff through originally using a gravity rod, which allows the staff to fly, and we even just spoke about that gravitational wave the staff made when it was touching Brainwave. So then he purposed it to fight crime, and the rest is history. And by the end of the episode, the bond is truly forged between Courtney and Pat, and they're just essentially a team now moving forward as Stargirl and S.T.R.I.P.E. But ladies and gentlemen, we can't end this review without talking about, because business between the Injustice Society and Stargirl is getting real, Icicle arrives in Blue Valley, Nebraska, which we know was teased as of the end of last episode, but I loved this ending because we also got a tease for Solomon Grundy, who's been like kept in the Injustice Society headquarters. Poor little Solomon, just locked away in there, but it is teasing that we are going to see him, and I can't wait. I really hope they show him in full CGI light in a future episode, so just wait, watch this space, I suppose. And I also love how much pride the Injustice Society take in themselves in a similar fashion to the JSA, with that amazing posed picture in the background of all the villains and the round table. Now, you haven't seen it yet, but you've seen probably from the trailers that I've shown before, and I'm probably showing now, that the Justice Society have the posed heroes and the round table. So it's just like a fully, very much so comic book established thing, and seeing that in live action is just truly something special. Icicle means business. He's arrived, and I just felt like what a strong ending to a great episode. And I'm sure a lot of you agree here, especially those who loved the first episode. So that is the episode, guys. Solid episode. It felt like a part 2 to the part 1 that was the origin and creation and the beginning of this journey. And I really can't wait now that Stargirl has created her suit, has become a teeny bit more proficient with the staff, put Brainwave in a coma. Things are really moving forward. This is why I love the formulaic way that DC Universe approach making their shows compared to that of the CW. Yet again, not bashing the CW, it's just, you know, normally there's like in between stuff going on there. Even if it's a main story oriented episode to a degree, there's still like a meta of the week bleeding into that or something like that. With this, it's business all the time, stuff going on all the time, and I just prefer that. I love that. I prefer the notch up in quality. I really feel like it is a treat for those who don't have access to the DC Universe or don't pay for it in America and are watching this on the CW, because it's like, oh crap, this show's amazing, because it's so much more higher production and quality than that of your typical Arrowverse show, not only in production but also just story, I feel. But I would love to know your thoughts on this down in the comments below, guys. Let me know your theories and stuff I discussed as well, of course, but also I'd really appreciate it if you left a like on this video. But I think that is everything. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, so get hyped for episode 3, guys. I've seen it. You will love it if you love this and the last episode. And until then, I guess I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.